There's nothing that would make me happier than represent Canada and get the championship there, and then go to the Jays and get a championship there. I don't think that anybody could have a better season than that.
Welcome to episode 370 of Alberta Dugout Stories podcast. I'm Joe McFarland. We now know who will represent Canada at the World Baseball Classic. All rosters were unveiled during a special broadcast Thursday night, led by manager Ernie Witt. 21 of the 30 Canadians are either current or former MLB players, including Josh Naylor, Tyler O'Neill, Denzel Clark, and Edouard Julien at the plate, while Jamison Taillon, James Paxton, and Cal Quantrill are among those on the hill. A few familiar faces here in Alberta got the call as well, all pitchers being Michael Soroka, Rob Zastryzny, Adam Macko, and Matt Wilkinson. For Macko and Wilkinson, it'll be their first time representing Canada in international competition. We'll hear from both of them in just a couple of minutes. The action on the field will begin with a pair of tune-up games during spring training against the Toronto Blue Jays March 3rd and the Philadelphia Phillies March 4th. The action officially gets going against Colombia March 7th, with Canada also set to face Cuba, Panama, and Puerto Rico in their pool. They'll be hoping to be in the top two to move on to the playoff rounds. We'll start this special edition of the show off with the architect behind the roster. Baseball Canada men's national team director Greg Hamilton had some tough choices going into this year's event, including having to deal with the availability of a few players, including Eric Sabrowski, Cade Smith, Matt Brash, and Jonah Tong. That said, he's more than happy with what he's assembled, and we also chatted a little bit about the future as he was in Alberta this week checking out some future junior national team hopefuls in Okotoks before heading out for a few more stops ahead of the WBC. Greg, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, great to be on. Appreciate it, Joe.
Take me behind the scenes in the process in your eyes of determining what you wanted this team to look like, because I suspect it probably started pretty much as soon as the 2023 World Baseball Classic came to a close.
Yeah, it does. I mean, you obviously look at your roster from the preceding WBC, and you kind of look at player careers, and you kind of project forward and see who will be active and who's on the back end of careers and may not be available or in the game still, and who's kind of potentially on the rise and whatnot after you finish after we finish the last WBC, and then it's a continual ebb and flow, because as I say with this roster, it's you start out with kind of what would be your major league wish list, and if you could get all of them in uniform, and it would look like this, and then invariably it kind of works its way through realities and contracts and injury and health, et cetera, and you have to be somewhat creative in putting the overall roster together at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on 23, were there any lessons learned or things you wanted to address from that tournament to make sure that you hit the ground running, so to speak, heading into 26?
I mean, I thought, and we thought, that we achieved in 2023. I don't think we underachieved. I don't think we necessarily overachieved. I thought we achieved, and that's not trying to split hairs, but I mean, realistically speaking, we ran into a depth issue a little bit on the pitching side of things with a couple of countries that were really deep on major league arms and major league depth. When in the United States is the obvious one, and Mexico was real deep in that tournament in terms of major league arms. And I think we held in there real well with Mexico and just kind of couldn't get to the finish line. But it was we certainly we traded. We competed very well against them, and the U.S. was the U.S. I mean, you had to pick your spot, which has been the eternal challenge for us in this tournament. I mean, when you get the U.S. in your pool, you have to kind of decide where that game lands. And, in our case, very early in the last tournament, and, people could say, well, just go for it because anybody can beat anybody any given day. Well, if you go for it in the first game and you blow out your entire pitching staff and you still lose, you're in big trouble, because it's not like you can short rest guys. It's not like you don't have guys on restrictions. I mean, everybody comes into this tournament on very defined restrictions on days off and how many pitches. And, it's not like it's the playoffs where guys will lengthen out, or they can lengthen out, or you can kind of take a starter and have them relieve. And I mean, if you blow it out in game one and it doesn't go your way, it's you're going to be in a tough spot.
Mm. So take me into your mindset going into this one, given that you're not in your usual pool of death, so to speak, with the U.S. and Mexico, and kind of some new foes to face this time around. Did you have to change your trajectory and your planning at all?
No, I mean, we like our pool in the sense of we think we can play with everybody, and we don't have to, make difficult choices in terms of, okay, well, we can't really go after this game because we've got to win the next two or three. I mean, I think when you look at this one, it's set up well in the sense of we do match up with everybody in here. I mean, Puerto Rico, they're probably, a little bit deeper than most, but, they've had some challenges, obviously, in getting players that they want to get with, the health issues, so that, they're not quite as deep as they would normally be. But I think for us, it's arguably, if you look at the tournament, it's probably the most balanced or deepest pool, but for us, it's probably the fairest pool. I don't want to use the word fair, but I mean, fair in the sense of we feel we can compete with anybody and have a realistic chance to get out of this pool.
When you're putting a roster together like this, is it a matter of getting the best guys available, or is it a matter of finding a certain identity? I know we talk a little bit about that. You talk about the Olympics, for example, in the men's hockey team. Is there a mindset that you kind of go in going, we want this kind of character in these kinds of roles?
You always want an identity that gets what it means to put your country's colors on, and your country's name across the front of the chest, and understand how important that is, and players that care deeply, because it is a sprint. I mean, it's playoff baseball. It's the World Series in this context where there's no tomorrow, and you have to come in really caring, and you have to come in really unselfish, and you have to come in wanting to win for your team, your country, your teammates. So that is hugely important. But it's also a tournament that countries are fielding all-star teams, the best players they can put on the field. So I mean, for us, you have to try to get your best talent. You have to try to, I mean, we're not the United States or the Dominican Republic or maybe Venezuela, where we just have a spoil of riches of major league impact players. And if you don't get this player, you can go to another player. You can kind of, you can leave behind somebody that's a terrific major league player because you're looking to create a little different role, or you need to fill a little different role. I mean, for us, we're still at a point where if it's a major league player and an established major league player or a major league player in general, based on our depth, we're going to want those players, and then our sort of building around it and our depth comes into the makeup, the balance, the character. Those would be with our minor league players and our guys that aren't established major leaguers. So we kind of create that in that sort of depth that we would have in putting the rest of the roster together, as opposed to saying, hey, we might pass on a major league player because we want another skill set that this player doesn't have. We're not that deep that we can do that.
We are working towards that, of course, and we'll get to that in a second, because I have a feeling the future is very bright given what you've been doing in the last little bit. A few Alberta guys that are on the roster, particularly when it comes to the pitching staff, and I want to touch on three of them in particular. And let's start with Michael Soroka. You got him back in the mix now. How excited are you to have him in the lineup and in the pitching rotation?
Well, very excited. I mean, what you touched on before, Michael, he brings the talent component, which is special. He brings the makeup character and compete level, which is special. And, he means a ton. I mean, he's going to start for us, which we don't have a lot of depth on the starting side, especially major league accomplished depth. So it's a huge add for us, obviously in terms of his talent and his ability to match up against any nation or any team and any level of talent, and he brings a great clubhouse presence and makeup and leadership, and has always represented everything that is special about playing for your country, and really gets it. So it's a huge add.
You have a couple of young arms making their first appearances in international play anyways. Let's start with Adam Macko. How do you see him fitting in with this group?
We're really excited about him. I mean, it's really compelling stuff. I mean, he's got a plus breaking ball, fastball is really, really good. And, we're looking at him probably, out of the bullpen with a little bit of, not just kind of one or two hitters, an inning two type deal. Given kind of where he sits with the Jays, that's kind of where he is right now. And we're going to try to, reflect that and how we use him, keep him in kind of the role he's with Toronto. It's early in the season, so obviously you're not going to be stretching into an extensive starting type role, but, maybe comes in a piggyback role off of a starter and throws a couple innings and, or kind of gets us to the back end of the game, because he's got that type of stuff where he can strike out guys. And we're excited to have him. It's a really good arm, and he can definitely help us in kind of that mid to later innings type role with the ball club, or we could piggyback start him. So there's a little bit of flexibility there.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Matt Wilkinson's been a star virtually everywhere he's gone to this point. He's also one of the younger arms on the roster, period. What did you see in his game that made you say, hey, we want to bring that guy along?
Well, he's young, and again, there's an ebb and flow to putting this roster together. So you kind of start with your major league guys. You don't get them all, and then you kind of look at upper level minor league guys. You don't get them all, and your depth kind of takes you to players that are few that maybe in our minds more advanced than their experience would show, and more capable in terms of competing than their relative experience would show. And that's what kind of led us to Matt, that sort of process. And what we like is he's always been a strike thrower. He doesn't shy away from competition, and we think that he should be able to handle the stage. I mean, you can't predict it. I mean, there's a big difference between collegiate baseball and the lower levels of the minor leagues, and then San Juan, Puerto Rico with 50,000 people and global television. So I mean, it's in major league players, but we do think that. And we like the pedigree. We like the compete level. We like the fact that he throws a lot of strikes, and we like the fact that he doesn't shy away from competition. So I mean, it's our job to make sure we put him in the right spots. And we think if we can do that, we think that he'll embrace it, and that compete level will come out, and we're excited to have him.
There's obviously a bit of a value add for you as well. I liken it to the World Juniors to a certain extent, where they bring in the 16 or 17-year-old kid who gets that opportunity to see what it's like on a bigger stage like that, and get that taste, so to speak. When you got a bunch of your batters last time around were a pretty young bunch. So how much value do you see in that, just being able to expose them to that level of ball?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge in their growth and development and our future, right? I mean, you can't be experienced if you don't get experience. So, I mean, that's obviously stuff we do look at that, and we don't just look at this WBC, although that's the the preeminent focus is winning in this one. But I mean, you do factor that in, but it has to, if you're going with youth, they have to be able to, at least from pedigree and what you've seen, they have to be able to give you at least a strong belief that they can handle the environment, because you're going up significant levels, and it starts with the ability, if you're on the mound, I mean, you've got to be able to throw strikes. I mean, and Matt is always throwing strikes, and he doesn't walk a lot of guys, and I mean, that just doesn't work if you've got a terrific young arm, but there's a lack of command, and it'll speed up in a hurry in this type of event when you're dealing with major league players in that type of environment. So absolutely. I mean, we would project him going forward to have a more significant role if he can stay healthy, and his career kind of moves along the lines of what you think it will, based on how he's achieving and how he's performing. And we think it'll be a great experience for him, and it's great to have him.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the future, and you are in Alberta. You're doing the junior national team tour as well, getting to look-see at some of the guys and some of the talent coming up. You've also got a boatload of guys who are in the minors right now and making their way up, or guys who are just on the fringe. When you look at it globally, again, I know that you're focusing on 26, but when you look at 29, when you look at 32, whatever the future has in store for the WBC, does it give you a sense of optimism and a sense of excitement about, hey, there's some real growth and some real players that are coming to the fray in the not too distant future?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at just the depth of Canadian talent, and as you say, the number of players in the minor leagues and the options available, I mean, you look at this roster in general, it's relatively young. I mean, even the the players that would be huge impact guys in the nailers and Sorokas. I mean, there's probably another WBC in there as long as they stay healthy. I mean, age-wise and still impact, and it's very encouraging that way. And depth of young talent really matters, because you've got to be able to back end that pipeline and make sure that you have enough to project forward and continue to be competitive at this level. So yeah, we're very enthusiastic about the future of the program.
Mm-hmm. Once you get everybody under the same roof, do you have a message you want to send to these guys? Do you have something that you want them to take away from the WBC this year?
Well, I think for us, we haven't been able to solve round one. So I think everybody's highly motivated to get out of round one and get to Houston and move the needle in this tournament. We've had a lot of international successes that we're very proud of as a national program, but and we've certainly had some near misses and some tremendous excitement within the WBC, and taking the Americans to late innings and beating them on one occasion in the first one, and we've been close, but for us as a group and as a nation, we want to get down to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and finish in the top two in our pool, and get to round two in this tournament, and get to round two. It's a one-shot deal, so why not round three if you can get to round two?
Absolutely. Final question for you here, Greg. What's it mean to you to not only build this roster, but also continue representing Canada at the World Baseball Classic and internationally in general?
Well, I say I'm just a caretaker of a very special program, and to be able to do that and see players sort of from the front end to the back end of their careers, the development side of it, and to be able to put our country's colors on and the name Canada in front of it across the jersey is and continues to be incredibly special. In my opinion, there's nothing like representing your country, and I feel very fortunate to be a caretaker of the opportunity to experience that and the emotions and feelings and passions that come with it.
We've been fortunate enough to have you on for a few minutes to talk about the mindset as we head towards the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Greg, again, congratulations on the announcement. Best of luck with the tournament. Safe travels the rest of the way, and thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you. Very much appreciate it.
Next up is a longtime friend of the show and a young man poised to be one of Canada's bullpen catchers. It's been a while since we last caught up with Jordan Procyshen. The Dogs Academy and Okotoks Dogs alum has moved on from playing and has quickly ascended the minor leagues with the Arizona Diamondbacks in a coaching role. He was bench coach of the AA Amarillo Sod Poodles in 2025 and will spend this season as the bench coach of the AAA Reno Aces. This will be his second World Baseball Classic. Jordan, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Jordan Procyshen on the staff for Canada at the World Baseball Classic. How excited are you to get things going, and how does that sound even a couple of days after the fact?
It's an honor. It's an honor to be part of it. I was part of it back in 2023, and having those conversations with Ernie and Greg and being asked to come back is awesome.
Walk us through what it was like from your vantage point, taking part in what feels like kind of a transition for that tournament where it became really a big deal in the baseball world.
It's cool. It's you get to be treated like a big leaguer for a week there, 10, 11 days. And, just representing your country there's nothing better than it. I remember back in high school, and then now again, it's you can't beat it.
Mm-hmm. Is it hard to put it in the usual perspective of it's just another baseball game when it's on a massive world stage like that?
Everything's under a microscope in these type of games when it comes to international play. But yeah, you got to find a way. All those guys out there playing, they're the best of the best for a reason. And for them, they find a way to make it feel like another game, but also understand that every single out matters, and trying to get 27 outs with more runs scored than the other team is not an easy task.
Mm-hmm. Any personal highlights or moments where you had to take that step back and go, this is pretty darn cool?
The game against Colombia, when we ended up beating them, was pretty surreal. But just, having my family there, it was my wife and one daughter at the time. Her parents and my mom were out there, and, having them in the stands with me at a big league stadium there in Chase Field was pretty cool.
Any chance they're going to be making a return trip in 26?
No, if we end up advancing to pool play to Houston, my family's going to make the drive down, but they're not going to come to Puerto Rico.
So added incentive to make it a little bit further this time around. I like it. When you look back on the last time around, any lessons learned for you or things you took away from that experience?
Not entirely. Just being around big leaguers like Freddie Freeman, Tyler O'Neill, Quantrill, all those guys, Brash. It was cool to see how they go about their business day in and day out. As back in 23, I was still playing. So taking it from this aspect, this time of I'm a full on coach. I'm excited to see how those guys go about their business again. and there's not a whole lot in terms of that aspect that I took away.
Mm-hmm. You have some younger arms in the bullpen this time around. How do you go about keeping maybe their minds at ease a little bit as you get ready for each potential outing, or even the moment when Ernie and his staff make the call down?
It's just reminding them that it's another game and trying to keep it that for them. Quantrill Q, Paul, he does a really good job. He was in the bullpen with us last time. I'm assuming that he'll be down there again, and he's been there, done that in every single aspect of the game. So he does a really good job of helping these guys stay prepared when their name is called.
As mentioned, you were a player in 23, now as the full-on coach. Does that change your mindset at all going into this one in terms of maybe learning more about what Ernie puts into his day-to-day, or learning more about what the rest of the staff is doing?
Yes and no. It's a continuous collaboration between the staff, diving into the advanced scouting that we will get done, and just kind of understanding how the game will potentially play out, strengths and weaknesses, and attack that from there.
We've been talking a lot about the coaching side. I did say off air, I'll say it on air as well. Congratulations on your new assignment with the Diamondbacks as their bench coach in Reno. How excited are you to get that thing rolling once the WBC's over?
Very excited. Very, very fortunate for this opportunity, and super excited for this next step.
What's it been about the coaching side that, I don't know, maybe it's from the outside looking in, but it seems like it's come really easy to you. You've been able to transition and work your way up pretty quick here.
A lot of it's just being who I am, being myself. It's one of those things that my wife and we knew eventually that I would transition to the coaching side. And one thing was just, always be myself and be true to who you are. And that's really helped. With the Diamondbacks here, it's a great culture that they've built, and they've allowed me to be myself coming in, ask questions and learn. That's one of the biggest things for me transitioning was don't be afraid to be wrong, ask questions, and be a fly on the wall when you need to be able to learn as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. Last season, you got reunited with a familiar face down there as well with Gavin Logan. I chatted with him at the end of the season last year and kind of got a sense as to how happy he was to see a familiar face there. What's it like seeing his journey unfold on the other side?
It's surreal. I remember seeing Gavin for the first time as a 16-year-old kid back in Okotoks. And watching his career develop as it has from high school to college and then now into pro ball. It was a full circle moment last year when he got the call to Amarillo, and just watching him grow up, because him and I stayed in touch throughout his college career, and then as well when he was first drafted and came into pro ball. He would always bounce stuff off of me, so it was really cool to see that growth from way back, that 16-year-old kid that I met for the first time till now, going into his first big league camp as well.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, when you get to the spot you're at in AAA and you're kind of a phone call away or an injury away or a demotion away from getting the call up, do you have advice for him on kind of wading through those ebbs and flows of a season as he gets closer and closer to the dream, so to speak? Yeah,
the biggest thing for him is just stay in the moment. It's one of those things that there's so much in this game that you can't control. You can't control if you're the one getting called up. You can't control if you're the one that's playing that day. The only thing you can control is how you go about your business that day when your name is in the lineup, and as well how you go about your business when you're not playing. So that's a big focus for him, is just stay in the now and let things take care of themselves as it will.
Is that a bit of advice that you give to yourself as well, as here you are now knocking on the door of the big leagues in a different way?
Yeah, it's one of those things that it doesn't matter where I'm at. If, you're in rookie ball, you're in AAA, you're still trying to get the player better. And at the end of the day, that is the most important thing as a coach is, make the player better. And in return, you're going to make yourself better as a coach. And so that's one of those things is, day in and day out, how can I get these players that I'm working with better? And in return, I'll see a better version of myself.
Mm-hmm. A couple more for you before I let you go here, Jordan. First off, for going back to the World Baseball Classic here, Do you have words of advice for that crew that's going to be walking into the doors, walking into the clubhouse, and getting ready to suit up in the Maple Leaf in the next few weeks here?
Just embrace it. You never know. A lot of people never get the opportunity to represent their country, and some people have done it multiple times. Just embrace it and be as excited as you possibly can while still not taking away from your own game.
Fantastic stuff. And finally, what's it mean to you to be representing Canada at the World Baseball Classic?
Everything. It's awesome. I love it. I was a little boy, 16 years old, 17 years old, when I got the first call from Greg to represent the country as a junior. I've represented our senior team 3 times. I think this is my fourth now. And every single time seeing that name across my chest is awesome.
Does it give you the goosies a little bit thinking about putting on that jersey again?
Yeah, it does. I mean, international play is the same as playoff baseball. And honestly, I think it's even under a bigger microscope because everybody is so excited and thrilled to represent their country that it matters that a little bit more.
We're excited and thrilled for you and for the entire team as well, Jordan. Congratulations on the post with Baseball Canada at the WBC. Congratulations on all the success in coaching so far. Best of luck here as we head towards the new baseball season, and thanks again so much for joining us here on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Now for a couple of young hurlers making their first appearances at the WBC. We'll start with Stony Plain native and Vauxhall Academy product Adam Macko, who's wanted to represent Canada for years after his well-documented childhood, which also took him through Slovakia and Ireland. The left-hander spent most of last season with AAA Buffalo Bisons, going 3-8 with a 5.06 ERA in 18 games, including 10 starts. He'll be a utility man of sorts for Canada, while also hoping to move up in the Toronto Blue Jays system. Adam, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
Adam Macko, representing Canada at the World Baseball Classic. How does that sound a couple of days after finding out?
It's a surreal feeling, really. I've always dreamed of representing Canada on the junior national team, and it didn't work out with my citizenship status and kind of the logistics. And I was in touch with Craig then, and that made me really want to be a part of it even more. And all my friends that were in Vauxhall were part of it. And that was something I was always jealous of them for, and obviously very happy for them, but I also wanted to be there. And so now that I finally get a chance to do it and that it worked out, I'm super happy. Very grateful to Craig and all the staff for the opportunity. And honestly, it's really is a dream come true since I came to Canada. I've always wanted to do that.
How did you find out?
Greg just was in touch with me for a couple of weeks before that and said that I was in the mix. So when he first called me that I would be in the mix, that was quite a surprise to me. I'm not as in touch with baseball as I maybe should be during the off season, and I wasn't aware of all the things that were going on. So when he called me, it was a very pleasant surprise. And I immediately told my parents, like, oh, I'm potentially in the mix, and they've always wanted that for me as well. So when I got the call again a couple of weeks later, that was maybe it was even a month later or a little bit longer than that, but that was it was a surreal feeling. I can't be on a better stage, represent the country that kind of made me into the baseball player that I am. And that was really a great moment for me.
Walk us through what's going through your mind in that moment when the phone's ringing and you can see the number and you're going, okay, this might be something here.
Yeah. No, I mean, my heart dropped when he called me again, and I wasn't sure if it was going to be the great news that I was hoping for, or maybe if I would need to wait a couple more years for that. And I know the Canada team was talking about being really strong this year, and so I knew that my chances might have been less so than maybe other years, because that was kind of the big thing. But I was very, very grateful when the words that came out of his mouth were positive, and he was congratulating me. And like I said, we've been in touch that month or so, and even before that in Vauxhall, and those were the things that I always wanted to hear from him. So it was, I couldn't believe it at first. Like my heart kind of dropped when he told me that, and I immediately called my parents and told my fiance, and it was great.
Have you thought about that moment yet when you step out onto the field in Team Canada colors for the first time?
Oh, I mean, ever since I got the call, that's the thing that I'm preparing for now. And when I'm throwing my bullpens and throwing my lives, I'm very aware that, like, okay, I got this many probably before I get out there, and just trying to pretend as much as I can to be in that situation, so I'm a little less nervous when I'm there, because it'll be some of the biggest stage that I would have pitched on, and that I will pitch on, and that is something you can't really replicate, but I don't know how I'm going to be able to contain myself, but somehow I do when these things happen. So hopefully that'll be the case then. I can't imagine what that'll be like. I know it'll be rowdy. I know that the expectation to win is stronger than it is in the minor leagues or any other time. Like, even if like championship in the minor leagues that I was at, this is quite a bit bigger than that, and I'm feeling the responsibility, and I'm preparing the best that I can.
Have you talked at all with Greg about the role or what you envision for yourself as you go down there?
I think I'll be in relief for sure. I'm not sure how many innings that I'll be allowed to go by the time that we get to that point, like how the buildup will go. And I think the plan is potentially to be ready to go about 3 innings. But it's still kind of something that we're talking about with the Blue Jays, and they're coordinating that mostly with Greg. And I just kind of got the schedule that I'll be pitching in the practice game against the Blue Jays. And then after that, it's kind of all hands on deck, and it'll just kind of be whatever the situation calls for.
Very cool. I mean, it's got to be a little bit of extra motivation for you heading into the new pro season as well, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big year for me. It was a big year for me even before this WBC, and this kind of added a little bit of that excitement, maybe a lot of that excitement. And yeah, I'm really just grateful with where I'm at right now, and the people that I have around me, and the staff with the Jays, and how they're helping me get prepared for this. And they're super on board with me representing Team Canada. And when you're playing for the Blue Jays, like, Toronto does represent Canada in a way, but it's not with the Canadian logo on the jersey, and the words Canada across the chest. So that is pretty special, and I'm super excited.
Mm-hmm. We haven't had a chance to chat about this last year or so let's get into it for just a quick second. Looking back on the performance, I know there were some ups and downs. How happy are you with your performance during this last during 2025?
Yeah, there's definitely, like you said, there's some ups and downs in that. There's some things to be really happy about. There's some things that definitely need some ironing out as well, and that'll be the case for the rest of my career. I'm always going to have things to improve on and work on, and I'm never going to be satisfied. I kind of feel like I found myself a little bit towards the end of that stretch of my year, and coming back from the injury, I didn't want to admit that to myself during the time, because I didn't think it had anything to do with it, but just getting my groove back a little bit might have been a little bit harder being on the injury list. I didn't really have a spring training at all. So getting back into that rhythm of pitching was kind of sink or swim when I got to the affiliate, although we did the best that we could to prepare me for that. But you can't really prepare for AAA hitters unless you're facing AAA hitters. So I learned a lot during that season, and it's been less so about my mechanics and all these other things, and more so about just sequencing and understanding how hitters think. And the AAA hitters are very smart, and that's when baseball starts becoming a bit of a chess game, and I started learning that a little bit. So by the end of it, I felt very good with where I was at, and I hope to continue on that this year.
Absolutely. As somebody who's in that system, what was it like being a member of the Toronto Blue Jays organization and watching them go on that run into November?
Oh, it was unbelievable. I was lucky enough to get the opportunity to stay a little bit longer. We called it a stay hot group, and we had a bunch of pitchers and position players that in between their series got to go to Toronto and help them do inter squads and lives and practice with them to kind of keep them hot and prepared while they were waiting to play another series. And I was one of the guys that was lucky enough to get a chance to do that. So I got to compete against the cream of the crop, and that being there for that, and then we got a couple of games that a couple of tickets for those games that we could watch, like game 1 of ALDS, the Championship Series, and the World Series. It was surreal. Like I was so proud of all those guys and how far they've come, and I know a lot of the guys now that were on the team, and it was just unbelievable. I was so happy for them that they get to experience that. And a lot of the guys, it was just their debut that year, and they get to experience the World Series already. It doesn't get much better than that. So that was amazing for them, and I was nothing but happy. It was really cool opportunity even for me to be able to be out there and be there with them during that time.
And that's got to do something for the confidence factor for you too, and give you a bit of a mindset as to, okay, this is what I got to do to get myself to that next level and be the first person they need to call heading into 2026.
Yeah, 100%. It makes you want to work that much harder, that much smarter, and it is something that I got a little bit of taste of, just being able to like throw lives and compete against the big league guys, and that was something like, okay, I got more of an itch to do that than I had at any other point. So that was a great motivator to end my year like that and go into the season hopefully making the team.
Speaking of this season, do you have expectations or goals of yourself going in?
Yeah, I mean, I want to help the big league team win the World Series, and I want to help them win as many games as I can, and I want to be a part of that. It's a great team, not only on the field but also off the field. Like, all the guys are very close, and I mean, you could see that when they even play on the field. Like, everybody's cheering for each other, and the Blue Jays org is very much like that as well. Like throughout the minor leagues too, it's not. You are competing for a spot, but you're not competing that you want the other guy to fail. Like, you want your friends and everybody else to succeed. And the big leagues is the same way. Everybody wants each other to succeed, obviously. And I want to be a part of that. And there's nothing that would make me happier than represent Canada and get the championship there, and then go to the Jays and get a championship there. I don't think that anybody could have a better season than that.
That would be a perfect 2026 indeed. Adam, one final question for you before we let you go. What's it mean to you to be representing Canada at the World Baseball Classic?
Yeah, it means everything. I mean, Canada, I started my baseball career in Slovakia, right? But Canada has kind of shaped me into the player that I am now, and I'm super grateful for all the people that I met along the way, and I'm still going to meet. And so I want to represent them well. I want to represent Canada well. I know we can do a lot. I believe we can win this whole thing, and I definitely want to be a part of that, and just super grateful for the opportunity. I mean, that's been something, like I said, has been on my mind since I got to Canada, and I thought initially when I was that young, I was like, that's very optimistic of myself to think that would happen. But as I kept working hard and kept doing my thing, that now became a reality, and just gratitude is the thing that comes to my mind. Like, absolutely grateful for everything that has come my way, and now for this opportunity. I'm very, very excited for it.
Well, gratitude comes to mind when we think about how we feel towards you every time we text or pick up a call, pick up a phone, and get a chance to chat with you, Adam. Again, congratulations on being named to Team Canada. Congratulations on all the success to this point, continued success as you head towards the WBC and the Toronto Blue Jays organization. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always fun being here. Thank you.
And we'll wrap things up with fellow first-timer Matt Wilkinson. The Dogs product and Cleveland Guardians prospect spent all of last season with the High A Lake County Captains, going 4-9 with a 4.24 ERA and 25 starts, striking out 117 batters in 104 innings. His selection might have been a bit surprising to a few, but as Hamilton pointed out, he's a strike thrower and someone who can pitch in a multitude of situations, and Tugboat is more than happy to answer the bell on the world's biggest baseball stage. Matt, welcome back to the show. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Heading to the World Baseball Classic to represent Canada. How does that feel, and has it sunk in yet?
No, probably it hasn't really sunk in yet. I think it will closer to the date, but honestly, it's one of the highlights of my baseball career so far, and I'm just looking forward to representing my country with Canada across my chest for the first time in like 10, 12 years. So I'm just super excited for the opportunity, and hopefully everything goes well.
Kind of feels like a draft day almost. So I got to ask, how did you find out?
Actually, Jeff Duda called me, and he said, "Hey, Greg just asked for your number." And then Greg Hamilton called me a couple minutes after.
So when you, between the time that Jeff calls you and the time that Greg calls you, what's going through your mind in that moment? Because I can only imagine how surreal that's got to be.
Well, it's the first time ever getting a phone call from Baseball Canada, so it was obviously a good feeling. And as the rosters were like 2 days away, so the only thing I could really think about is that I'm on the team. And luckily enough, he called and offered me a spot, and something I couldn't turn down, that's for sure.
Was it something that was on your radar going into the last few months at all, as maybe even a possibility? Was it something that you had circled on your to-do list at some point down the line here?
Yeah, honestly, when I was at Central Arizona, I went to watch the World Baseball Classic in 23, and I just remember right there and then I was just like, after watching that game, I was like, all right, I'm going to be pitching for Canada in the next one, and kind of surreal moment to say to myself that I am now, and it's just a dream come true, but gotta take advantage of my opportunity and just do the best I can to help Canada win.
Have you thought about that moment when you get to step out onto the field in Team Canada colors?
Not yet, but like I said, I think it'll all sink in when I get closer to the date. I know. It's definitely one of the top moments of my baseball career.
For sure. When you're talking to Greg, did you get a sense as to what your role is going to be? Do you even care at this point, knowing your past? You're just like, throw me in, coach, and I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think especially with it being my first time playing on this team, I don't think I could be picky about my role, and I won't be. If I throw one inning the whole tournament, I don't care. I just want to help the team win, and I just want to win at the end of the day. And whenever my number gets called, I'm going to go put the Canada on the chest and pitch my I can't say that. Pitch my tail off.
You can say whatever you want. It's a podcast. It's all the better. When you think ahead as well, how much of it is going to be a bit of a learning experience for you as well? Have you thought about that idea of, hey, you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of veterans here who've been through the grind and get a chance to kind of soak in those moments as well of learning and growing and seeing what big league talent's all about?
Yeah, my mindset going into this is just try and be a sponge, learn as much as I possibly can. Playing with guys who've been in my shoes and done everything possible for their baseball career to get to the big leagues. And, I think it'll be a good thing for me to see like the type of work that goes into it and see how the best do it. And so I think that's just one of the things I'm most excited about. And then also, I'm from Ladner, British Columbia, and getting to play with James Paxton would be a very cool thing. He's from the same hometown as I am. So I think that's one of the highlights for me as well.
Have you met him before?
Yes, I have. My brother used to play with his younger brother, so met him before. Not like maybe once or twice, but so it's just going to be cool to kind of play with someone from your hometown.
Very cool indeed. Obviously, not only is it WBC, but you also get a little bit of extra motivation heading into your third pro season. When we haven't had a chance to kind of catch up over the last couple of years here, when you look back on, especially this last season, how happy are you with how things went and how your development's been going?
Honestly, I needed last season. I needed to dig deep and kind of get punched a little bit. Not trying to be arrogant here, but I haven't really failed in my baseball career until last year, and I honestly think it's going to make me a better pitcher. If I can take the first year and the second year and kind of blend them together and try and, I don't know, just learn from my mistakes or learn from stuff that didn't go my way last year. But I think it was probably one of the best things that could have happened to me. Like, never worked my ass off this off season, trying to put myself in a good position to possibly be in Double-A to start the year. So at the end of the day, I just think humbling experience last year. You think you're good, and then you get punched in the face. You can't. Everyone kind of needs that.
Was it a matter of the stuff? Was it a matter of the mindset? Maybe a combination of the two. What was it that kind of made last year kind of stick out like a sore thumb a bit?
I just didn't make my pitches. I was behind in counts all the time. Like, started questioning stuff, and then at the end, last 6 starts of the year, I went like 5-0 with like a 1.5 ERA. So I just found it at the end. I just couldn't get it going early. But I wouldn't say it was a mindset or anything like that. I just think, we're playing in a professional baseball, right? We're playing against the best. So I think I have to do a better job preparing with some of my shapes and pitches and stuff like that. And but yeah, I really needed that year to just kind of put myself in perspective and stuff like that.
So what was it during the off season that you were working on to make sure you hit the ground running, going not just into a WBC? You weren't necessarily expecting that, but obviously going into into spring training and hoping to make a name for yourself and move up that ladder.
Honestly, I just wanted to solidify all my off-speed pitches. I know my fastball is good. It's my bread and butter. I've had it my whole life. I know I can get swings and misses with that, but just being able to locate and have the confidence in my other pitches that I do with my heater, I think that's probably been the number one goal. And then obviously in the weight room, trying to get stronger, faster. Just move. How can I translate the weight room to the base, the mound and stuff like that? So just trying to, I don't know, nutrition, everything. Guardians we've done a lot of work together, working together on the nutrition side of things. So just getting started there.
Good stuff. Heading into this season, once the WBC is over, do you have any expectations or goals of yourself going into the season with Cleveland system?
No expectations. Goals is just how can I compete every 6 days and how can I keep myself in a good position to stay healthy throughout the whole year and, I don't know, just learn from my teammates, ask questions, and just be ready to roll.
Absolutely. Matt, one final question for you. What's it mean to you to be representing Canada at the World Baseball Classic?
Kind of everything. Growing up playing baseball in Canada, it's watching this tournament. It's been a dream of mine ever since I was a punk. So it just means the world to me. When I called my parents and hearing how excited they were and called my girlfriend and stuff like that, it was just seeing the support I have from my friends and family and former coaches, my teammates now. It means everything, really.
It's meant a lot for us to be able to catch up with you and hear the great news. Matt, again, congratulations on being named Team Canada. Best of luck as you head towards the World Baseball Classic in just under a month's time. And again, thanks so much for joining us here on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to Greg Hamilton, Jordan Procyshen, Adam Macko, and Matt Wilkinson for joining us on the show. And thanks to all of you for downloading and listening. We'll have one more episode ready to go for you this week as we have a trio of newcomers set to join us to help get the college baseball season rolling. And then it'll be back to our regular cadence of Thursday releases for the most part as we get ourselves ready to roll for baseball season. So make sure to hit subscribe on your app and you won't miss a moment of the action. A tip of the cap, as always, to our Platinum supporters, the Okotoks Dogs, Under the Lights Sports and Entertainment, and the Western Canadian Baseball League for their generosity in helping us tell the game stories in our province. For more on our tremendous teammates, head to albertadugoutstories.com/supporters. Until next time, thank you for all of your support online, on social, and on air of Alberta Dugout Stories.